Hope you had a good weekend. Lecture 9. What is the right thing to do? Some preliminaries first of all. The rewrite to paper 1 is due October the 18th. You're strongly advised to make an appointment with one of the writing advisors, either Thomas or Kelly. And before we get going on this week's topic, I thought it might be helpful to go over a question from the quiz, namely question 6. This question is from the Norton Anthology, page 157. Consider the following analysis of knowledge, simplified from Robert Nozick's book, Philosophical Explanations. Nozick will come up later in the course when we get on to political philosophy. Nozick's account of knowledge was S knows P, IFF, if and only if P is true, S believes P, and if P had been false, S wouldn't have believed P. The problem is, explain why this analysis seems to get the right result in Gettyer's example of Smith and Jones, as described in the Reader's Guide. So this was possibly a little misleading, and I have to take responsibility for this because I actually wrote this question. It wasn't perhaps completely clear what the right result was. What I intended was that the right result in the example of Smith and Jones is that Smith does not know, as Gettier claims, that the man who will get the job has 10 coins in his pocket. And so the task is to explain why Nozick's analysis of knowledge makes that prediction. That is, if you apply the analysis of knowledge to the example of Smith and Jones described in the Reader's Guide, then you get the desired result, that Smith doesn't know that the man who will get the job has 10 coins in his pocket. Because the wording of the question leaves something to be desired, we have been lenient on those people who interpreted the right result incorrectly. So here's Nozick's analysis of knowledge again. S knows P, if and only if, 3 conditions obtain. P is true, S believes P, and if P had been false, S wouldn't have believed it. In other words, according to Nozick, if S knows P, then these 3 conditions have to obtain. That means that they're all necessary conditions for S to know P, and they're also sufficient. In other words, if those 3 conditions obtain, then S knows P. So let's plug in the details of Gettier's Case 1, discussed in the Reader's Guide, to Nozick's analysis of knowledge, and see what we get. Here is Smith, and here is Jones. My stop-motion techniques will improve, I hope, as the term wears on. They have both applied for a certain job, and Smith has strong evidence for the claim that Jones will get the job. Maybe the manager of the company has assured Smith that his chances are very low, and that Jones has 10 coins in his pocket. Perhaps Smith has just counted them. So, putting those 2 things together, Smith has strong evidence for their conjunction that Jones will get the job and has 10 coins in his pocket. Now, a logical consequence of A, something that is entailed by A, is B, that the person who will get the job getter, has 10 coins in his pocket. We may suppose that Smith performs that elementary logical inference and comes to believe that the job getter has 10 coins in his pocket. He has strong evidence for that claim. He believes it. He is justified in believing it. Is it true? Smith aced the interview and got the job. What's more, by some amazing coincidence, he has 10 coins in his pocket. It is true that the man who gets the job has 10 coins in his pocket. Smith believes that. Smith is justified in believing it, and yet, Gettier invites us to agree, Smith does not know that. So this is a counterexample to the claim that knowledge is justified true belief. You can have a justified true belief and yet not know. Okay, so what about Nozick's analysis? Let's plug in Smith for S and the claim that the job getter has 10 coins in his pocket for P into Nozick's analysis of knowledge and see what we get. Which is this. Smith knows that the job getter has 10 coins in his pocket if and only if 1. The job getter does indeed have 10 coins in his pocket. 2. Smith believes that the job getter has 10 coins in his pocket. And 3. If it had been false that the job getter had 10 coins in his pocket, Smith wouldn't have believed it. Now, in Gettier's story, the first 2 of those conditions hold, but it seems fairly clear that the third fails. If it had been false that the job getter had 10 coins in his pocket, Smith would have somehow had a different number of coins in his pocket. Perhaps because he stopped off on the way to the interview to buy some breath mints. But he would still have counted 10 in Jones's pocket, presumably, and the chair of the company would still have been pessimistic about Smith's chances. So Smith would still have believed that the job getter has 10 coins in his pocket. So Nozick's account, since those 3 conditions are supposed to be necessary in order for Smith to know that the job getter has 10 coins in his pocket and the third condition fails, Nozick's account predicts that Smith does not know that the job getter has 10 coins in his pocket, which is the right result.